Now that you've created a project, it would be useful to see it in action. Visual Studio has a virtual web server that lets you test your site without needing to upload it to the internet. In this lesson, you'll learn how to start the virtual web server to see the pages that were automatically included in your new project. To begin, open the My Project sample file from your Sample Files folder. Now you're going to start debugging. First, double-click on default.aspx to open it. Then click Debug, Start Debugging. Note that you can also use the shortcut button on the top toolbar, which looks like a play icon next to Internet Explorer. After a short delay, the default.aspx page is displayed in your web browser. The path in the address bar of your browser looks something like localhost 51903/default.aspx. Localhost is the web address of your own computer. When you started debugging, Visual Studio started a virtual web server on your computer at this address, so that you can test your project. Note that if you click the About button on this page, you will see an error. This is because you deleted the About page in Lesson 1.8. Close your web browser now. This brings you back to Visual Studio and stops debugging. Next, you're going to change the project's Start page to mypage.aspx. To do this, find mypage.aspx in the Solution Explorer, right-click on it, and click Set as Start Page. Now start debugging again. If you're not able to start debugging, the virtual web server probably didn't close properly when you closed your browser. If this happens, you can stop debugging manually by clicking Debug, Stop Debugging, or by clicking the Stop icon on the top toolbar. You can then start debugging normally. This time, the path that is opened is something like localhost 51903/mypage.aspx. You didn't add any content to mypage.aspx, so the page will be blank. Because you have set mypage.aspx as the start page, it will always appear first when you start debugging. Close your web browser again and make sure that debugging is stopped. Now you're going to see how to change which web browser is used for debugging. Click the drop-down arrow next to the Play button on the top toolbar. A drop-down menu appears showing all of your installed browsers. You can change which browser is used for debugging here. Click Internet Explorer if it isn't selected already. All of the examples in this course use Internet Explorer. Most web developers need to test that their sites work in several browsers, so this option makes it easy to switch between them. Next, you're going to cause an error, specifically a build error. When you start debugging, your project is built. This is another word for compiling, which you learned about in Lesson 1.6. When your project is built, all of its code is checked for errors. If there are any major errors, the virtual web server won't be able to start, and Visual Studio will try to tell you why. Open the code behind file of default.aspx now. To do this, either double-click default.aspx.cs or right-click on default.aspx and click View Code from the shortcut menu. Now, in the space just below Page Load, type some nonsense. You'll notice that the text you typed is underlined in red. Visual Studio has already noticed that there's something wrong with this code. Try to start debugging now. Instead of displaying the page, a dialog appears warning you that there are build errors, and asking if you'd like to use the last successful build instead. Click No. Now delete the nonsense that you typed, and start debugging again. Mypage.aspx is displayed properly this time, although of course it is still empty. Close your web browser now, and close Visual Studio. You've now completed Lesson 1.9. Run a project in debug mode.